George Radian, Steelhead Ventures. The background is really living in most of your shoes. I've gone through probably 7, or if I've lost count, close to that, startups where I would join alongside the founders and help scale the company. I've been fortunate in timing to do it in the waves of, if you will, the evolution of technology. So I've gotten a couple IPOs and probably 3 exits through acquisition. As part of that team that really figured out how to scale. So made as many mistakes as we did successes. But I bring that operating mindset and that sense of revenue and the type of milestones you have to get to at the early stage. We invest in early stage, so we're angel and seed investors. We're activists, so we are typically alongside the founders in a advisory role, in some cases actually helping invest. So that's my story.
Hi, Ho Nam from Altos Ventures. We're a early stage VC firm with offices here in Menlo Park, and we just opened an office in Seoul, Korea last year. We've been on San Diego since 1996 and Korea since 2014. We focus on early stage IT, software, internet, mobile types of companies. In the US, we tend to be a little bit more focused around B2B, SaaS, and in Korea, we tend to be more focused on B2C types of opportunities. Mostly mobile and gaming types of investments. And I got my start as a VC before business school, actually. I was at Bain & Company, which is a strategy consulting firm, and I joined Trinity Ventures back in 1990, which was I think back then, a $30 million fund. I don't know how many billions they have under management, but it's definitely over $1 billion now. So we've seen the industry grow a lot over the last 25 years. And in between, I went back to business school. I had some operating experience at SGI before starting Altos with a couple of other partners.
I have been investing with them for about 3 years, although most of my investments have been outside credit. So I mostly invest my own money on an individual basis. My own background is high-tech, cloud computing, mobile apps, B2C, B2B, enterprise applications. And I did 4 startups, 2 of which made me some money, and the other 2 ate up all that money. Yeah, I know, that's not funny really. Ask my wife how funny that is.
Still have
one. So anyways, and then I decided to, be on the other side. I'm on the board of several startups. I have been as an advisor. I have overseen some exits and made some money for my founders. And yeah, that's pretty much all I do. I do a little bit of independent consulting even now on the side on product strategy or enterprise applications. I have worked for companies like almost all of them, I would say, Apple, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Silicon Graphics, once upon a time, Oracle, all of them.
Thank you for coming. My name is Steven Z. I'm a managing partner of Eastlink Capital. From prior to founding Eastlink Capital 2 years ago, I have been with Riverwood for about 5 years. Riverwood is a private equity firm focusing technology, actually global technology firm. And I was the managing director for our firm's investment activity in China, especially non-semiconductor activities. Prior to that, I have a mixed exposure of both operating entrepreneur activities as well as investment banking and investment. So I've been doing this for a while. As for Eastlink Capital, we're micro VC. We're focusing geographically, sector-wise in mobile and data. Geographically investing mostly Silicon Valley companies, but with angle to helping our portfolio company develop market in China. So we're kind of sort of a cross-border angle here in the Valley. Prior I starting Eastlink, I've been traveling to China almost 8 to 10 times a year, and also working in China and Hong Kong for altogether about almost 8 years. so have this cross-border activities. So in fact, I had to fly to China this Saturday. So I apologize. I have to leave at 7:45. So sorry. Thank you.
Some of the fundamentals here. So if you're an angel investor, what does an angel investor do? How did you become an angel investor? How does one become an angel investor? Why did you become an angel investor? I guess Sam, you're the only angel investor here.
Well, I guess why one becomes an angel investor is when you have some money you would like to throw away. But no, in my case, I actually I like the excitement of a startup, right? But there's only so many startups one can do in one's own lifetime, and not that I'm old or anything, but the thing is, it's more rewarding sometimes when you are talking to multiple startups at one time, and by virtue of putting in some cash, you are involved in more games, so to say. It's a little bit different experience than running a company on your own, obviously, but it can still give you the same excitement and similar returns if you are reasonably careful. Reasonably careful.
George.
Well,
Well, if you're a VC, are you?
yeah, we're a formal fund.
Yeah, well, if you're a VC, same question. So what does VC do?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is
George, just use the mic.
sorry about that. Yeah. What I think is really interesting, and the motivation is taking the experience that you had in really helping a team become a team and scale to those inflection points. The early ones, the ones that you get to where you scale globally, and you only have so many of those experiences. To your point, the world of how to do and how to scale and how to build companies has changed dramatically in the last 5 years in particular. So the motivation was also to reunite with my brother, who was very successful in another industry sector, and for us to together leverage my background and put a fund together to enable founders. And that was the primary motivation, and to do it leveraging both a mindset of being activists to support them and leveraging the background that I brought to the table. So that was the motivation.
Well, I became a VC, I guess, both times. I was very fortunate to some folks I knew called me and said, hey, these guys are looking for somebody, and you might be a fit. And so at Bain, I was a techie guy, but working at a strategy consulting firm full of MBAs, and the Trinity was looking for somebody with my kind of background, somebody technical, somebody with Bain, and two of the partners that started Trinity were former Bain partners. And then Altos, we got started through a professor we knew at Stanford who knew an investor, and he was interested in doing some investing in VC, and assembled a group of young folks that had graduated 2 years before. And so both of my partners, founding partners, were classmates from business school.
Stephen. And actually, Stephen, you mentioned you're a micro VC. Yeah. So what's the difference between a micro VC and a super angel?
So I think the official definition of micro VC is any VC fund with asset under management below 100 million. And super angel, I don't really know the official definition, but if you want me to guess, I think probably defined as someone investing with their own money, and versus VC have LPs, and it's other people's money, and GP is probably required to put some money of their own, but the majority of money is LP's money. So super angel, some probably super size, I don't know the range, but most of the super angel investors probably smaller than 100 million, probably below 10 million. But that depends seriously. Yeah. But the lastly but not leastly is really the approach to investment is totally different. So the VC has a formal process, and super angel probably can invest whatever you feel like it in terms of sectors, geographic, and decision time. So probably can move much faster than VC.
So yeah, Stephen said it very well. Steven said it very well. I think the difference is not in the money amount per se. It's more in A, how they are structured, and B, in their investment philosophy, right? So first of all, Rob, no, I'm not a super angel by any stretch of imagination. We do have some super angels in Kiritsu. Typically, first of all, they would typically do a deal even on their own. So even if the deal requires $1 million, they would just write $1 million check if they really feel excited enough about it. A typical angel, like I would never do a deal just on my own. First of all, I would not like to write a check so big, and secondly, if other angels are doing it, I feel validated, right? I feel more safe. So yeah, I think Stephen put it very well. The main difference is really, these differences are already disappearing between VCs and angels. The main difference is the money is their own in the case of super angels versus VC. And secondly, their investment criteria are totally different. They can just do it on their own whim, whereas these people need to follow a certain process.
George, yeah, what's the difference between the mindset of a VC or angel investor? Just
Well, I think we're really a hybrid in the sense that we don't have limited partners. That was intentional. We wanted to be able to make the type of decisions and, if you will, open up our network and our capabilities without having to answer to limited partners. So in a way, we're a formal fund, but we're very much intentional. And I want to say there's a mission behind our madness in the sense that we are looking for founders that are going to make an impact in a significant way to their companies, in this case, on the broader landscape, whether that's an industry sector, whether that's social, or whether that's empowering their employees and their customers. But we're looking for impact in that sense, but from a business perspective, not a nonprofit or a social perspective. So anyway, that's kind of short answer.
Oh, your thoughts?
I don't know if I have much to add, but our two largest investors, for example, are the university endowment, and they trusted us with their money. We want to try to give it back. It's a good cause, and the other is a pension fund for teachers, and we want to make sure that we return their money. So we love doing what we do, and I think it's different than other kinds of investing, where we feel like we get to help people, work with entrepreneurs. We wonder if we can make a lot more money probably just investing in public stocks, and I do that personally, but I don't get the same enjoyment. But we don't do it for fun. We have to actually return money to our investors who are managing money on behalf of people who really need that money. So we do have to follow a formal process.
So, what was your best investment ever, and what was your worst? Real briefly. You don't need all the details.
That was an interesting question because I saw that the worst investment ever in some ways is the investment you never did. Because we make a $2 or $3 million investment and it goes to zero. It just goes to zero, right? But we had one company where we decided not to invest. We were very close, and we changed our minds. 6 months later, we paid 5 times higher price. 6 months later, right? And that investment has turned out very well. So it's a good investment for us. But that little decision, that 5x difference between the first and the second, that decision probably cost us $200 to $300 million. Right? So $200 to $300 million, that's 100 deals going to zero. So that is costly. So I don't worry about the small investment that goes to zero. My favorite investment ever is one of the first investments we ever made in 1996. It's still a private company. They made the Inc. 500 Hall of Fame about 10 years ago. And to make the Inc. 500 Hall of Fame, it's really hard because you have to be on the Inc. 500 list 5 years in a row. And as you get bigger and bigger, it's hard to stay on that list. And they've sent out dividends of $300 million. They just recently bought out the only only large VC in the deal, just completely for cash. It's a fantastic cash machine. It's and the CEO is a LP, is an investor in 3 of our funds now. He's a great friend of ours. We love that kind of investment, right? We've been working with that company for 19 years, and I still own all my shares in that company.
I got to pass it because we're a fund that was really created a little over a year ago, so the jury is still out.
Well, my best investment, I think, is this small company in India. They have a model where they give sampler boxes to new parents in hospitals. So you get a new kid, and the hospital gives you a box full of goodies from Huggies or other vendors. Um, in America, of course, they have a different model, but in India, in return of this, they are able to call the parents later on and get their feedback and get a lot of data. So anyways, I put in like $50,000 at a $500,000 valuation, and they recently raised $10 million at a $100 million valuation. So somebody do the calculation. My worst is actually a stock trade I stupidly made, and I don't want to go into the pain of it again, but I lost $50,000 in like 30 seconds. It was a biotech company. I know nothing about biotechnology, which I think is kind of a lesson that however smart you feel, don't do something you don't understand.
So the best investment I have made, probably a company called Info, which is the leading outsourcing company based in China. So I invested in the company in 2005 and went to IPO at the end of 2007, 3 years. The time I invested was only had an $8 million revenue. So it was a fantastic return, so just fabulous. And such a successful run that formed a very strong relationship, and some of the executives are my fund's LPs. So this is really very productive and meaningful experience for me, both money-wise and personally. The worst investment, probably, again, I echo Ho's thoughts about making the worst investment. Probably the investment that you didn't make, which for me is Xiaomi. I was offered the opportunity to invest, and sadly, I was working for Riverwood, and Xiaomi at the time when they approached me did not have a product yet, and they want to close the deal in 2 weeks. And as a U.S. firm based in Menlo Park, we would not be able to move that fast. But that probably decision costs us about 40x of the return.
Steve, since you got the mic and we gotta leave early, what are the 3 things to look for in a startup before you would invest? And aside to that, you invest in concept stage startups, why or why not?
So the short answer is we don't invest in concept stage startups as a rule, but there are always exceptions. I did invest in a startup, just a concept, but with what we call the serial entrepreneur, proven serial entrepreneurs, which I know was well known in the community, and he sold his last company for $27 million. So that's an exception rather than a rule. And also because our firm focuses on early growth companies. What I mean by early growth, for enterprise, it means about $1 to $5 million revenue run rate companies. If it's just concept, we usually would love to track on them, but not to invest in immediately. For consumer, which we also do investment in consumer, it means some meaningful tractions in terms of users and activities. So that usually will not, work just with the concept. So with that, in terms of what I look for a startup, the top 3 things I look for is quality of the team, which in terms of we prefer have strong biases in funding technology focused, founder with strong technology product background. Second aspect will be does their product solve a problem, a pain point, and whether that the demand for the product is what we call, very strong. The market is big enough to have multi-billion-dollar outcomes. Lastly, not leastly, is really there are differentiations from the competition. We like to invest in category leaders. It's always tricky, and that's probably part of the tricks how we getting paid money successful is to tell the early signs of emerging leaders. It's very hard, but it's part of the pattern recognition that I think I'm still learning as of today.
So, what are the 3 things one looks for? Well, there are 2 things here. One is as an individual angel investor, this can change case to case. So really, all the people that I know in Kiritsu Forum, they can say one thing one day and then they make an investment which doesn't fit in with their philosophy because it's their individual money, right? They can do pretty much what they want. Having said that, what I have seen most generally in Kiritsu Forum, and which kind of, I also like to follow, of course, people will give you all these things, but really it's the whole deal which has to make sense. But the team is most important. Everybody will tell you that, and it has become a cliche, but it is true. The second is there really needs to be some, especially at an angel level, right? At VC's level, it's a different game because there you have already proven the concept, right? But at our level, we can get washed out very easily. So the second point, which almost everybody looks at, is you need to have some very solid, very unfair advantage over other people, right? Advantage which other people cannot replicate easily, which other people cannot steal. Whether it's a patent, whether it's your uncle who is the Minister of Interior for some country who will buy only from you, whatever it is, it has to be unfair, it has to be sustainable, and it cannot be replicated, right? The third thing is really a consistent strategy. So you can have a very good team and they can have a very good product or go-to-market strategy. Everything is in place, but they really have no idea what they are doing with all this. What is the final end game? Are they going to sell it? Are they going to become big? Are they going to go IPO? And they are just running around like headless chicken. Now again, these three things together can come together and form a picture, and you can be weak on something, strong on something, and it can still be a comprehensive deal. So, yeah, it's a collection of several things.
Great points. Great points. We're early stage, so I'm going to mirror a couple comments, but add some. What we're really looking for is what in that DNA of that founding team were they, in effect, born to do what they're doing. I want to see a deep pattern recognition in their past, in what they've done, to know that this is their destiny. And it's a real subtle but powerful signal that we look for. The interesting part about a lot of the pictures that we see is they talk about getting to the top of the mountain. And there's a lot of talking about when you get to the top of the mountain. It's the exception to hear founders talk about the passion of executing and the climb. Because candidly, what I'm really looking for in that founding team is the ability to change direction as much as head in a direction. So I want them to talk about the passion of execution. The other point, which is a powerful signal, is given the type of challenges they're going to face, are they coachable? It's nice to be passionate. It's nice to have the focus and the drive, but at some point you also have to be open to being coachable. So those are the 3 points.
Those are great points. I'll give you the conventional answer, and we have a blog post about this, so I won't go into it. It's VCs wanted something big. Why big? Why now? Why is now the right time to go after it? And then why you? Why are you going to win? And so I won't get into that, but what I really look for, we look for entrepreneurs that are thinking about things in a different way, in a surprising way. And so maybe that's a source of competitive advantage because you are looking at the problem in a totally different way, and you might think, "Boy, you're really crazy," but we haven't heard of this thing before, right? And it could be a crazy idea, but maybe it's a great idea. But if it's something that we get the pitch, we're the Uber of this, we're the Airbnb of this, whatever, not as exciting. We fund those, by the way, we fund those kinds of companies all day long. But when we find something that's really different, that gets our attention. And then it's related to the second topic, which is product market fit. If we want traction, like I said, VCs usually invest when something is starting to work. And so when we think it's a really stupid idea and it's really starting to work and the numbers are there, that is very interesting. That gets our attention, right? So we funded this one company called Roblox, which is sort of like a Minecraft type of thing. Never would have invested in that. It's like, so many game companies. And they showed 52, 53 weeks of 7% a week compounded growth, which is like a 31x in a year. And it's just sort of, okay, this is really interesting. Something's starting to happen. And it's really becoming a juggernaut. I mean, we think it's going to be the next Minecraft, and it is growing very fast. And it's getting into that 50s millions in revenues, and it's quite interesting, right? So those kinds of things really get our attention, and the revenues were tiny. It was maybe $5,000, $10,000 a month, but that got our attention. And then the third thing we look for is everything George talked about in terms of entrepreneur. We call it the hedgehog versus the fox. Jim Collins talks about the fox and the hedgehog. They're two different kinds of entrepreneurs. Foxes are very smart, and they're very nimble, and they hang out at cocktail parties with VCs, whatever. Very social. Hedgehogs, they're just like heads to the ground. They're just like one step at a time, sort of really boring creatures, But it's like they're only focused on that one thing. It's that life's work, that life's passion. And they don't really have a lot of time to socialize. They're just doing their thing. And they're just one step at a time. And it's their life's passion. It's their life's work. And when we find an entrepreneur like that against a problem that's interesting, that really gets us excited.
I have time for one quick question. I was asked this at our panels, so you know. So the crash of '08 was like 7 years ago. The stock market keeps going and going and going. Palo Alto real estate is ridiculous. Actually, someone told me there's like a co-working space bubble. There's too many co-working spaces. Someone told me there's an event bubble. There's too many pitch events. So are we at a point where there's a bubble, a crash is imminent? There's a new paradigm? I just need a yes or no. No expanding.
No, that's
Not yet.
No, that's an unfair question.
I really think we're getting close. I really do.
I have to say 2 sentences, okay? There's bubble in some things, maybe, right? Everybody seems to have an app in their mind. Everybody seems to have a website. Everybody seems to have a business idea. Much as I love that energy, and much as I appreciate that I live in Silicon Valley, this is not sustainable, right? Everybody cannot be selling apps to everybody else. Somebody has to buy the app. So yes, on that front, I think there's a bubble. On the housing front, for example, I'm one of those who don't think there is a bubble right now in Silicon Valley, simply because too many new people are coming in. All the jobs are being high. All these big engines like Google, Cisco, well, not Cisco, but Google, Apple, LinkedIn, they are firing on all fronts. Money is rolling in this place, right? So yeah, so I think there's a bubble in some fronts, but maybe not in some.
Short answer, I think there are pocket bubble already. Perhaps wearable is one of them. And overall, in terms of the technology in Silicon Valley, the overall level probably not yet, but it's getting to the level pretty alarming.
So we're going to go into our pitch portion. So we have 7 startups lined up. So once again, 2 minutes, no slides, followed by 7 minutes Q&A. First up, we have CSI Diagnostics.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Cohen, and I'm with CSI Diagnostics. We're a software as a service firm, and we offer a software product for due diligence and portfolio management. Basically, we were around for 10 years doing research that was funded by multiple sources on what really makes a successful company successful, the strategic values in that. And after that research, we condensed it into an expert system and created a set of surveys so we send out to target companies. We survey senior management, middle management, line people, contractors, vendors, partners, and customers and investors as well. And the resulting report is extremely powerful in uncovering what is really happening inside that company, its capabilities and strengths and weaknesses. It's the condensation of more than 20 years of real research into a single expert package. Now, this was sold as a consulting tool for many years. And recently, it's pivoted, and that's why we're here, to go to the investment industry. We are introducing this product since last December to people in venture capital, private equity, mergers and acquisitions, and family offices. Why? Because of the pain point of due diligence and governance. We find that everybody on this panel is an expert at looking into a company and finding out what the values are. The questions you ask are based on experience. But it's a tedious problem, it's a time-consuming problem, and there's a question of reach. Even if you're looking to a company for $1 million investment, you're not going to talk to 300 customers. What we do is we encapsulate all this information for you in a package so you can apply your expert judgment, and you can do it on a much broader scale. It's quantitative and it's repeatable. Our objective is to get into all these venture firms, private equity firms, and mergers and acquisitions offices as part of their standard toolkit on a software as a service basis. That's CSI Diagnostics, and as much as we'd love to have you as investors, we'd also like to have you as customers on a risk-free trial. Thank you very much, everybody.
4 minutes.
4 minutes Q&A, please.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Hit me with your hard ones.
So So, are these standard or are they customized according to each assignment or whatever you call it?
The questions are strategic and they come from a standard pool. So we send them out to everybody, but people with different roles get some different questions. People in management will get, let's say, up to 30 questions, plus customers the ones that you want to ask. The customers will get less.
And do you have metrics so far how successful you have been in forecasting the quality of a company?
Absolutely. We've done this for more than 350 companies around the world in 3 languages. So we have a base of data, and every time we run this, it gets smarter.
But how do you prove that it's good? I mean, do you then do a comparison against a real due diligence, or how do you prove it is good?
Well, for one thing, anytime we've ever offered it to a customer on a money-back guarantee and they've not been happy with the results, they haven't paid us, and that has almost never happened. That's one metric, whether they're satisfied with the report they asked for. But the second part is difficult to answer because although we're quantitative and we're measuring strengths and weaknesses, it's diagnostic and not prescriptive. There's advice in there, but people don't have to follow it. So, when we have a larger amount of data, we can go back and analyze performance after the fact and show how accurate we were in predicting flexibility, resistance, durability of a company. But for now, it's straight advice.
You have a pretty interesting targeted customer base.
Thank you.
Where are you going to actually start? It's, there's a diverse set of needs across just venture capital alone.
Absolutely.
You have a go-to-market plan with this new SaaS model that is specific to a sector and get a win there, or are you looking to go after all of them at one time?
Well, since we pivoted, starting really at the end of November of last year, we've attended conferences for angel capital, including the Karatsu Forum, in Landmark for venture capital and a few others. We've been to a family office conference, and we're here in the Bay Area to go to a M&A conference by Opal Group tomorrow in downtown San Francisco. So we are feeling out the market to see which are the strong points, and we'll focus on the ones where we get better traction. And the message is targeted. Some people really see this more as a due diligence tool for screening. Others see it as a tool for portfolio management, for the governance of 50 companies in their portfolio. They can't go to all the board meetings and review the documentation. So wherever there's strength and weakness, that's where we'll focus. We'll know in about 3 weeks where the traction is, and that's where we'll focus on.
So what's the incentive for people to actually fill out these questionnaires?
Well, on the one hand, when we engage with a company, we have to go through that company to get permission. So you, as the president of the corporation, are going to communicate to all these stakeholders. They're about to be contacted by a third-party independent firm, and when we reach out to them, we are telling them very clearly that their answers are anonymous, so it's safe to answer. So we have an excellent track record of getting this data back. In fact, people have challenged us on this, and we've shown them that when we send out 60 surveys among the staff, we get 48 back, which is a fair sample. On the customer side, if they feel a fair sample size is, let's say, 150 customers, we may reach out to 350 or 400 just to get that number back, but we can do it.
Companies asking them for a favor. It's like, hey, we're doing this survey, please fill it out. Is that what it is?
It's not a favor, and we have the templates for the messages that go out to make sure people answer honestly. But what they're saying is, we're doing this because we want to be a better company. And because the answers are anonymized, people tend to be much more open about what the things they want to brag about or complain about. Now, the expert system portion of this takes some of that into account. After all, your vendors may not all love you, but that doesn't mean you're a bad company for it, so we adjust. I've got 1 minute left for any questions.
I just wanted to know, I'm sorry, your pricing model, it seems a little bit over the, is it project-based, or you?
We do have a pricing model for project bases, which is between $5,000 and $8,000 for a small sample.
Okay.
And it's priced, but we have a pricing schema which encourages people who will be doing this on a regular basis in this market to adopt us as an enterprise group. So if a company adopts us for both screening and portfolio management, it's still going to cost less than one MBA grad from an Ivy League university on an annual basis. But the scope is huge. Sorry, thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric, and I'm from Enter Capital. When you are a business and you're trying to sell your business, you would have to go through an investment banker who will introduce you to potential buyers. After the transaction is over, the investment banker earns anywhere from 0.5 to 5 or more % of commission on the transaction. Annually, that amount is somewhere between 10 to 50 billion dollars. Okay, that's 10 to 50 billion dollars that is taken off the table that both buyers and sellers have better use for. Okay, so that is a problem, and what we do at Intercapital is solve that problem. What we do is we provide an online platform, intercapital.com, where buyers and sellers can find each other. Okay, we also provide due diligence, confidentiality, financials, and it's free for the seller. No transaction fee of any sort. We only charge a small subscription fee to the buyers. What we're doing is really a long-term trend that everybody has been noticing, which is moving from broker-based transactions like stocks to broker-free like E-Trade and so forth. Similarly, with real estate, we used to have brokers and agents. Now it's all you go on Zillow or Trulia and you can buy and sell homes without using a broker. So we're just moving along in that trend. Okay. Currently, we've just launched, and we actually have 3 sellers with each one over $100 million in value, and we have 3 buyers, and in fact, one of the buyers is actually looking and want us to introduce to one of the sellers. Our team is formed by a professional group with over $3.5 billion of private equity transactions and capital fundraising. Thank you.
So, if I was to replace the middleman is really what you're doing.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And part of the selection is the sourcing of the buyer is really one of the critical factors in when you hire on the sell side, right?
No, we're high.
Sorry, I'm just saying, is it a marketplace model? I was a little unclear on how you're scaling.
Both buyers and sellers will come onto our website. We charge the buyers.
Right.
We don't charge the sellers.
So it is a marketplace in the sense of buyers and sellers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So two-sided.
So it's a two-sided, and the buyers are paying for access to the seller.
Exactly.
So how do you get the flywheel going?
Well, we are starting off with free for the buyers for the first 6 months, and once we get enough there, and also we're going to work hard on building in the inventory on the sell side, and then once that starts going, then and then we're going to hustle and get them, and then the next ones would have to come in and they would have to pay.
And what's the secret sauce, you think, in getting?
I think the secret sauce, there's a price issue. So we're really cheap. We're going to be charging $1,000 a month for private equity firms. One transaction, and the transaction fee is $10 million. That's 10,000 months. You can't make money in 10,000 months, and you really shouldn't be in private equity.
So are you raising seed money now just to create the platform and launch it? Or
The platform is live.
Yeah,
What we want is to be what we want to do. I think one of the important things is to be able to globalize as quickly as possible.
Why?
Because we don't want some other engineers in some other country to write something similar. This isn't rocket science. What we're creating as a site is not rocket science. So there can be competitors. If they see us doing something well here in the U.S., they might do something in Russia or China or something like that, and we want to be able to globalize as quickly as possible and capture those private equity firms in those countries as well. And we want to have the globalization so that a company, a PE firm in China might be able to see companies here in the U.S. that they want to buy. Typically, you can't do that with investment bankers. They won't have that kind of a connection generally. There we go.
Are we just asking questions, Rob, or are we giving feedback? We are giving feedback also?
Sure.
So here's the thing, Eric, right? I mean, you yourself say this is not rocket science, which we knew before you said it, by the way. Kind of. But the thing is, you did not really answer George's question, right? Which is, how are you going to get the flywheel going? Your only answer to that is, well, we will just hustle. But unless you tell me that there are some key partnerships you have with existing banks who will bring you some deal flow or something, which will kind of make it like a rocket, right? I mean, I don't know how much money you hope to raise, but let's say you raise even $2 million, that's not going to help you globalize it or market it globally immediately, right?
Well, we do have a group of people that we work with that is from our MBA program who are global. They're all around the world, and they will be working with us and helping us out in attracting and talking to the private equity people in their respective countries. So right now we have 80 different countries that we can tap into right now.
So, you know, look, eBay blew it in China, right? They let Alibaba have China, and it was a lot more than eBay, but eBay is still worth $70 billion. You got to take care of your own home market first, I think. And so try to go global when you don't even have critical mass in your own market. I think it's I don't know. Peter Thiel wrote a book recently. I would recommend it to folks. Peter was a founder of PayPal and invested in Facebook, and it's called 0 to 1. It's about the creation process going from nothing to something, and then 1 to many could be later stage investors. And his advice is to focus on a small market that you could dominate, become a monopoly, have monopoly profits, use those monopoly profits to grow. And so Facebook did not try to connect the world, try to connect Harvard University. And then after it got Harvard, added Yale and Stanford. That's it, 2 or more schools. And after those, they added a few other schools. And so focus is so critical, and to say, hey, we're going to win because we're going to be global from day one. I don't know if that's really credible. And even for eBay, they could not win globally. They were very powerful. They had lots of cash. They won in the U.S. They won in a few other countries. They lost in Japan. They lost in China. They lost in a bunch of other places, and that's okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Schneider. I'm the co-founder of Kickster. The last company I founded, I IPO'd. My management team has collectively founded and sold 6 companies in the last 10 years, successfully. Somehow, I don't know you guys. Now, remember that deal that you missed out on? The one that, went IPO or went big, and maybe you were too busy, or you couldn't get through the due diligence, or worse, the market was just too busy. Well, the same thing is true for us founders. 308 crowdfunding sites around the world. It's a crowded market. We just cannot get through to you. So we got kind of tired of that, and we decided to develop a cloud-based system that allows investors like you to buy stocks in startups. Now, we are SEC compliant. More importantly, we've partnered with Bank of America to handle the financial transactions, US Bank to provide investor escrow services, and here's the real cool part. We've partnered with OTC Pink in the United States, TMX Private Markets in Canada, and a select dealer network in the UK to give 160 investment advisory firms access to Silicon Valley deal flow. Crowdfunding is a $96 billion market. We anticipate garnering a $1.5 billion market share. That equates to about $92 million every single year. Our competitors thus far have not been able to combine reliable due diligence with deal automation and global syndication. We're launching in the next couple of months, and we want to be the platform, the new equity crowdfunding platform for the globe. And we want you to be part of this deal, and we would like you guys to sign up.
Well, just a couple of comments. You got our attention. Good job. I think part of the whole idea of a pitch is how you tell your story. And I think one of the things that I think I want to just say, you kind of described the current state. What I like about the flow, but what I think you spend more time on is really articulating the future state. Right? And then how you bridging that gap. I think so much of it is about storytelling, particularly as founders in the early, engagement. And I think part of that is framing that vision in that context. The challenges with the current state. We all understand that it's crowded, but what is it specifically that is that pain point that the future you're going to lead them to? And I just would like to have seen that, better articulated. But I got my attention.
Sometimes hard to do too.
Exactly.
It's a 5-minute pitch.
Exactly.
I think it's a good pitch. It just, I just have a personal bias against this form. I think it's very hard to make money being an investor. And if you want to see evidence of that, then look at the track record of people picking stocks, and do they do well or not? In general, they don't. And professionals who invest and do nothing but focus on investing in stocks, most professionals don't beat the market, don't beat the index. You're better off buying S&P 500 index that will beat the vast majority of professionals. So for individuals who are not professionals to get in and try to pick stocks and beat the professionals, well, that's going to be that's going to be a long shot. And if you invest in public markets, there's a lot of protections, a lot of regulations, lots of information out there. And to do that in private markets, it's going to be even that much tougher to make money. So, look, that's the business I'm in. I think it's a tough way to make money, even for the professionals. And for a lot of other folks who jump in, I don't know if I would necessarily want to encourage that, me personally. So that's why these kinds of investments, I just said, look, I don't want to be an investor in those.
Well, I mean, kind of to reflect on what Paul said, right? We've already burnt our fingers on this thing. The government might come up with new regulations any day, and your business model is over, right? Somebody gets burned, some new Facebook comes, which is not as successful an IPO as Facebook was, and bam, your business model is gone, right? It's just, first of all, you present very well. I'm sure you have been told that, and you have great credentials. But this particular business, and by the way, before I go any further, isn't there something on which Facebook was trading shares before it went IPO? I thought there are already platforms.
Second market.
Yeah, second market, right.
Yeah,
So I thought there are already platforms where you can trade stock in pre-IPO companies.
Let me just quickly answer some questions. Firstly, we're not a crowdfunding platform that is looking just at the Regulation D type offerings. But we're actually a fully licensed investment bank, which actually allows us to do true syndication. So that's not just like, think of AngelList, right? You need somebody in Palo Alto to decide, I'm going to invest there, and then get other people to come on board. The difference here is that advisory firms have investment advisors, Chase Private Wealth and whatever else. They'll actually be able to see these deals for the first time and be able to invest through the syndication platforms that we partnered with. Now, these are stock exchange platforms. So, for example, TMX in Canada is actually not a stock exchange, but it shows deal flow. So to actually have people to come into the Silicon Valley is going to drive that for starters. And because we have the full investment banking license, we're not just limited to, is that legislation ever going to come, or is the SEC ever going to come up with those rules? We can actually, we have the full license now, so we can actually operate. And worst case, if that crowdfunding model doesn't work, we sell an investment license investment bank, right? So
it's an arbitrage, essentially,
No, it's a syndication.
it's a syndication deal.
Well, let's talk offline. What you're saying, is it even legal? I have no idea.
My life is spent in highly regulated markets. So the last one I was in energy.
And I grew up in India. Who knows what that is?
So my life is actually working through all of that, and we've become really good at it. Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Chuck Gershman. I'm a co-founder of Cuvea. Cancer is one of the most dreaded diseases in the world, and every cancer is unique. But did you know that 75% of drugs prescribed to cancer patients, nearly $10 billion of cancer spend, has no response? One solution is personalized medicine, but unfortunately, the cost and time necessary to deliver this is only available to a select few patients. At Cuvea, we provide a SaaS-based web tool, data analytics tool, that takes in a patient's unique genomic profile, analyzes it, and provides physicians drug therapy recommendations that are specific to the biology of that patient. We do this in minutes versus weeks. We do it for under $1,000 versus tens of thousands of dollars for similar analysis done manually. For the first time, physicians can provide personalized therapy to millions of patients versus just a select few. And unlike our competitors, we provide patient outcome with full AI learning. We're in trials today with one of the largest hospital chains in the country, HCA in Kansas City. And we're soon to announce a beta partner with 22 hospitals. And I have a tremendous team. My co-founders, Nimrod and Jasper, are big data analytics experts with experience at VMware, eBay, Google. But more importantly, or just as importantly, they have great genomic background. They are key developers of the Cancer Genomic Hub, which is a sponsored program by the NIH and the Cancer Institute. And it is the largest repository of cancer tumor information in the world. I myself am a serial entrepreneur with nearly a decade of CEO experience and 2 successful exits selling companies to Intel and PNC. We have a great advisory board with MD oncologists and PhD microbiologists. Thank you.
So I'm a little bit confused. I thought that personalized medicine means that they take my genetic makeup and then the medicine to some extent is actually made in the lab according to my genetic makeup, like Dendron used to do, right? But what you are saying is, let me kind of put in my very layman-ish words what I think you're saying, and then you can tell me.
Sure.
I think what you're saying is that let's say there are 30 cancer curing medicines out there.
A couple thousand.
Oh, okay. So that changes the whole point. Okay, so maybe there are 2,000, couple of thousand possible cures there, and your system will take a lot of data points about me and put them in your software, and there will be an answer out of that machine which will say, okay, give this guy these 5 medicines. Is that what you're saying?
In a very, very simplistic manner, yes. But not, so what we look at your biology of your cancer tumor, and look at what the potential biomarkers are, the drivers of your cancer. Then we look at how these targeted therapies, these medicines that exist, were developed and what they were intended to do. And we match those together. And just as importantly, we eliminate all those that scientifically don't have a basis to help you. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to cure your cancer, so please don't. But we're going to give you the greatest possibility, or give your physician the greatest possibility of understanding what's appropriate for your particular cancer. As I started my pitch, every cancer is unique. It's a genetic mutation pattern. Okay? So you got to match the patterns. That's what we do.
So I have one follow-up question then. Is the science, so presumably the science behind this is well known and understood, but you have automated it.
Yes and no. We have automated it. The science is understood at the molecular level in terms of identification of biomarkers and medicines that are being created. But it's not a perfect science at this juncture. Today, we target our tool at advanced stage cancer patients. That represents 25% of the cancer patient population. These are people who have relapsed. Unfortunately, if you relapse, you have a 4% survival rate, and your physician doesn't really have a means of treating you. Using these techniques, which are now being done by expert tumor teams through PhD-based and MD-based expert teams, their studies show that you can increase the survival rate anywhere from 5 to 6x. That's what we're bringing to the market. An automated capability to increase the survival rate from 4% to 25 or 26%. It's not a perfect science. This is not 99.9% uptime on a telecommunications platform. This is the state of the art in what medicine can do today. But we've put it into an expert system, and we're delivering it to millions of doctors, or millions of patients, and all the doctors versus that select few that can get access to that expert tumor team.
I'd like to add, my mom had a stage 4 cancer, and I was able to use similar systems. I'm an AI guy, I've done AI in the past. I was able to save her using specific medicine to provide her DNA. And I did that twice. So she had a stage 4 cancer, doctors gave up, we recovered her, she was back normal. She had a remission again, and then I saved her again using the same method he's talking about. So I second what he's saying.
But you guys are not connected.
No, we are connected.
No, but I'll give you a couple bucks afterwards.
No, I understand that. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing it up. But if
you really understand it, Chuck, that was exactly my point, okay? He has actually destroyed your story just
No,
now.
no, it's good.
That's the cable. If one guy can do it sitting in his house as an AI expert, how long will it take for other companies like Pfizer, or even better, for government bodies like NIH or Cancer Society to do it, okay? The point is that the science behind this is well understood. It's only the modeling and the software he has created which is, like a selling point. But I'm just trying to understand. Remember what I said earlier, that the advantage needs to be sustainable and unfair.
Okay, and the advantage is sustainable and unfair because you're missing a bigger point, and I need to elaborate. The bigger point is I mentioned that our tool is the only tool that provides patient outcome and allows doctors to feed that outcome into our tool, right? That creates a learning mechanism and an AI mechanism, which means that the more patient population we see, the more refined our database becomes, the more valuable that database becomes, and the value of our business moves from our day-to-day revenue sales to the sale of that data, to the lease or data rights of that database. That's your billion-dollar ROI.
That makes sense. That's very cool. I mean, I have very little to add here because I don't understand this area, but curing cancer, that's great, and I love the focus on, sort of initial focus on the folks who relapse, so like a very targeted market. I have a friend who was a chief medical officer of a pharma company called Pharmacyclics, and all I know is the stock went from like 20-something cents a share to $200-something a share. They just got bought for $21 billion. It's like, holy moly, I wish I could invest in that area, but I know nothing about this area.
Just one thing to keep in mind, just 45 days ago, less than 45 days ago, the largest genetic diagnostics company in the space, the people that we get the information to feed into our tool, is a public company. Roche came in and bought $1 billion worth of their shares and effectively doubled the value of that company. That happened just 30 days ago. And I can give you 4 or 5 other examples of money flying into this space.
Yeah. Chuck, I'll just say one last thing to let you go. I mean, I think when you really get to the use case about the later stage patients, that gets the emotion across. And that was the connection. That's the magic of the pitch. So I just wanted to highlight that. I thought you did a good job.
Thank you very much.
If our tint-on-demand window film was installed in just 10% of all south and west facing windows, it presents an opportunity of $30 billion. Right now, there is no smart building retrofit that you can apply to an existing window that both controls glare, heat, light, keeps users comfortable. Next time, we're making a tint-on-demand window film that by using a switch on the wall or by using an app, you can cause the window to tint instantly. And the reason why we are able to do this is that we are using a set of materials that is the easiest to deposit onto plastic. And most people have written off these materials as being unstable, but our co-founders, PhDs, have shown otherwise. We've proven out the stability at small scale, and the first market that we're going to look at is glare control. When you're sitting in a restaurant where you're at a south or west facing window, you're not going to stay there and eat more food. And so that's going to be our first market. Then we're going to move on to commercial buildings where energy efficiency is more of a concern. And so once we go from there, we're going to go into other technologies. This is a platform technology as well. We also use for eyewear and for automotive. We currently have a 10-inch by 10-inch prototype that we made with Kodak. We can do this with contract manufacturing. We validated our price point with contract manufacturing, as well as our buyers, which are window film installers, and the eventual end user, which is, the eventual customer, which is a real estate developer. We filed a provisional patent on an additive that we can put into our materials to make it stable, and we are looking to scale up, and we think we can do this because we have the lowest cost. We're half the price of MegaShades, 7 times lower than traditional smart windows, and we'd like for you to join us or refer us to other people who may. Thanks.
Toby, go ahead.
Yeah, Toby.
I just thought that I think we've said it probably in different ways numerous times, is where do you start, right? I know you framed the actual product, but idea on your path to market, your path to the consumer, who you were targeting, how you were going to get there, and I just think from an investor point of view, those are the real highlights you need to bring, particularly in an early conversation. That would be my feedback.
Great, thanks. So this is something where you will pass current between the two layers, right?
Right.
So I have seen a demo of this thing just a few months ago. There was a person at Kiritsu, at the Angel Forum, and he actually presented there, and he had a demo and everything. So it's not a unique technology.
What's the name of the company? Arjun?
You will have to send me an email. I look at so many companies every month, but I can send you his whole information. He actually brought a demo. I know exactly what you are saying. We live in an iCloud. I don't know if you know what are iClouds, but they have huge windows, right?
Mhm.
And these are old houses.
Right.
So we were looking for something like this, and you put a film on it, and you put a switch somewhere, and then you pass the voltage, and it changes color.
Right, so there are a couple technologies out there. One is a suspended particle display, which give that kind of frosted look. You might have seen them at hotels. But those require power constantly. And so it's not really a tool for energy efficiency. So you're kind of limiting yourself from the large glass facades in commercial buildings. There's another company out there who's using a similar set of materials. These materials are not stable without this additive. And so we have the IP on that additive, and that's how we think that we
So you
can.
actually have a patent. It's original research, are you telling me?
Yes, there's original research, and we have the provisional. This one.
Do you have a demo?
We do. I didn't bring it to here today, but we can go to you later. We made it at Kodak, so we can take these things, put them at any
So why not
manufacturer.
license it? Why try to sell it yourself?
That's a great question. There's a larger opportunity if we have.
But you have no experience. I mean, this thing will require $50 million to spread all over US, right? Just to sell it, just to market it.
For marketing, yeah, that's a great point. It's not so much in terms of capital costs. We don't have to buy the factory, but certainly in terms of marketing and sales, we would have to do that. But in most new technology, you have to do this whole factory thing, and so we can be capital efficient in that.
So you mentioned a competitor that you were half the price of MegaShades. How big is that company, and what have they shown that you could build a big business in that business?
So Mecha Shades, I don't know what their market size is right now. A couple things that limit their adoption is they're noisy, they're expensive, and so this is all solid state, so it's totally silent. You push button, and you instantly limit the amount of light you can heat.
As much as totally dark, 90% opacity.
So we can tune the starting level a little bit. Right now, with our current iteration, you can go from like 50 down to 20, or we could go from like 35 down to 5.
And UV?
UV, yeah, we block UV as well.
It's a new thing every day. Okay, well maybe we can see a demo later or something.
Yeah, sure.
So a little background. This is my second startup. Last time round, my company managed mobile coupon distribution for 1,000 of the largest UK retailers. The company was successful, we scaled, and just over a year ago it was acquired in an $85 million deal. But this nearly didn't happen, and we never reached our full potential as a company. We were unable to achieve point-of-sale integration in store with our retailers. And one of our biggest takeaways from this process was that basically our entire customer base hated their point-of-sale system. They were bulky, expensive, and unattractive. But most importantly, they had a walled garden around the data. So all of these cool apps you see on TechCrunch that enable incentivization, discovery, engagement, payment, that you think the concept is great, but you never get to use them in store. The reason is because they can't integrate with the point-of-sale alone as well. And for the retailers, this harms them in a big way. They want to change the way that consumers act in the retail market space. They want to engage them in store, but they can't do it because of this walled garden and the lack of APIs. These apps can increase revenue for retailers by 20%, so the opportunity is massive. At Shockwave, we're here to solve this problem. We've built a beautiful, easy-to-use point-of-sale system for retailers that comes in at 1/5 of the cost of incumbent systems. And we break down the walled garden. We enable retailers to integrate any third-party application or payment system of their choice in less than 2 minutes, less than the time it takes them to do this pitch. Our product is built, we're in 50 retailers, and we've come to the US now to speak to a retailer with 2,000 locations. We want to scale and go global. Thank you.
Dan, there's been a lot of players in this market.
Yeah.
You know, what in the ecosystem or the past? Why hasn't this been, if you will, done before? And what are you doing that's truly different to make that happen?
So there's 2 reasons. When we look at the market, there's a $42 billion market. It's growing to $80 billion by 2020. And there's 2 major players in this market. It's Microsoft and NCR, the incumbents. It's not the companies that are getting all of the hype at the moment, like Square. And if we look at the way they generate their revenue, so if I look at NCR at $6 billion a year, they generate 30% of their year from 30% of their revenue from hardware, another 30% from systems integration and servicing. We're not bothered about that revenue. All we're bothered about is the software as a service revenue. So it's $79 per month per terminal. So every time it comes to integrating an application, if you're with Microsoft, you'll take it, or NCI, it takes you months. In a number of cases, either the APIs are not available, or the access to the data you want to integrate that application is not available, and they charge a lot of money. So we're talking $50,000 per application. And in a lot of the cases, the retailers have 10, 20, 30 applications that they want to integrate with a point of sale. And what they're doing is just not to bother. Or you see separate iPads alongside the point of sale. And when this happens, the applications are not integrated properly. So it's a massive problem for the retailers. And this comes at a time, so retailers at the moment, they want to go what's called omni-channel. So they want to engage with the users before, during, and after the transaction now. And it's the incumbent point of sale systems that are stopping this from happening. If we look at the iPad point of sale systems that are getting all of the hype now, they're cool, they come in at 1/5 of the cost as well. But the biggest problem here is they've taken a simple till and put it onto an iPad. So essentially it's a glorified calculator. They're not built for enterprise and for integrating, or complex integrations to global retail estates. So we're building for enterprise from day one.
This is like a more powerful Square, but targeted at the mainstream retailers.
Exactly.
Small mom and pops, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you've already launched with 50 retailers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. How big are the retailers? What's your recurring revenue base now?
So our first retailers, so what we've tried to do is take basically the single locations for speed of entry, and we've gone for basically the best coffee shop in London, the best burger place in London. This month, I've just got a retailer, Sanyo's, 88 locations, and another retailer, 31 locations as well. So last month we did $8,000. This month I'm going to do $25,000 in revenue.
That's pretty good. It's pretty small retailers. So how do you crack the really big ones? I mean, like an Apple, right?
Yeah.
Apple should have this at their stores, right?
Exactly.
They're forward thinking. Like, how do you get a big retailer with 500,000 stores?
So one of the big things we're doing, we're partnering with developers that have basically and payment providers. So a lot of, like, in addition to doing the point of sale, we're putting in place payment terminals, contactless EMV terminals that are Apple Pay compatible. So a lot of the time, the retailer doesn't think, I want to replace my point of sale, they think, I want to accept Apple Pay, or I want to integrate with the latest loyalty application. And that's where they understand the need initially. And they realize actually the only way to do this is to replace my point of sale. So we're pitching to retailers. We've come to the US for a retailer that was interested in speaking to us. There are 2,000 locations, and again, they have around 30 systems that they want to integrate, and it's just not possible with their incumbent system.
And is it easy for them to get rid of their current systems? Are they locked up into long-term contracts, or is it sort of some cost they've already paid for these things and they would throw it out? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, sometimes with larger states, they're locked into contracts, and those contracts can be up to 3 years long. So it's not. So the sales cycle for the large retailers is long. So we're going basically direct field sales to large retailers and building a relationship with them and doing thought leadership in that space and content marketing, while we're also opening up the long tail and attempting to automate that market. So we want to make it aspirational. So small retailers go into the big retailers, they see it, want it, and then they come and sign up automatically via our site.
have you approached channel partners like IBM sells to tons of these big retailers or some other kinds of folks? I don't know what the right channel partners are, but it seems like the micros and NCR they have.
Yeah,
sales
initially we
organizations.
wanted to control the brand and the experience, and actually that was a big mistake. And now we're attempting to sell via resellers. So the biggest one we're pushing towards now is payments, and also mobile network operators. We just closed investment with Telefonica.
Last but not least, Tipsy.
Hi. Who's been in this situation? You've just gotten off a flight, you arrive at your hotel, you're showing up to your room, and there is the bellman with his hand out. You reach into your pocket, and you've got no cash, or you've got a 20. Tipping. It's awkward, it's inconvenient, and it's an unfulfilling experience. What if you could easily tip, straight from your mobile phone? Hi, my name is Jason Wolfel, and I'm the founder of Tipsy, a mobile app for cashless tipping. With Tipsy, business travellers can now tip and expense straight from their mobile phone. In America, there are 460 million business trips a year. And I've just signed a partnership deal with Concur, the #1 travel expense platform in America. They have 25 million customers, and I can access those people. There's three main problems when it comes to expensing tips for companies. One, corporate compliance. Currently, there is no way for companies to verify the cash tip. And two, for the business traveller, expensing cash tips is a nightmare. And three, the service providers are missing out on tips in an increasingly cashless world. Tipsy, how does it work? So you walk into a hotel, you open up the app, it's location-based. The people who work in the hotel appear on your phone, you select them by their photo, they have a pre-populated amount, say $1, $3, $5. You select the amount that you want to tip, and it's charged to your credit card. And we take a percentage on that transaction. The tipping market in the US is worth over $45 billion a year. It's an untapped market, and it is ripe for disruption. This is the blue ocean that we're looking for. Thank you.
$45 billion thing you're talking about, does this also include tipping while we are dining or?
Yes, that's the overall market.
Because there your use case really doesn't fit in, right? Because when you are dining or when you are paying the bill for your taxi cab, you are paying another bill anyways, and you add the tip onto it.
That's correct. Right.
So really speaking, your use case, if I understand it correctly, and not to be argumentative, but just to understand it, is really useful where there is no other payment transaction as such.
Exactly. And that's
So
how...
like a bellboy, for example, or
Oh,
can
yeah.
anybody think of anything else?
There's over 30 professions in America that rely on tips as a major source of
It is
income.
like a bellboy.
Flights and taxi.
Yeah.
Taxi,
You've
again,
got
no,
caddies,
taxi,
you've
as I
got
said.
tour guides, you've got hair and nail salons, you've got massage therapists.
No, but again, I'm sorry, I don't agree, right? Because if you're in the hair salon, you are anyways paying your main bill, and you just add on the tip.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of the times in the hair salons, they have a sign saying, please pay the person, so sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference with Tipsy as well, and I think it is going to seep into the restaurant market as well. Currently, when you're paying a tip at the bottom of a bill in a restaurant, you're paying the company. People want to tip the individual. And that's why Square hasn't really taken off in restaurants, because people, service providers I've spoken to, don't want to stand over people while they're adding a tip to the end of the bill. So there's definitely a market there for it. We estimate that 65% of the tipping market is restaurant and signing at the bottom of the bill. The 35% is the other cashless tipping, and so on and so forth.
And the second question is, how do you sell this thing to hundreds and thousands of restaurants and hotels?
So I've got an affiliate market program with Concur, so they have the 25 million customers that I can send push notifications to those people. And then I can also access markets such as hotels through them as well. They have a massive market.
So how does this work? Does the recipient have to have the app?
Yes, it's a double-sided market.
So both people have to have the
That's
app.
correct, yes. And it's location-based. So, as you mentioned, we're going to roll out pretty much that you mentioned earlier. Focusing on conferences in town, in cities. Next weekend we're doing a test here for the Fusion Conference where there's 2,000 business travellers coming here for the Concur Festival. And we're doing a test there, so we're pre-launch at the moment. and we're going to roll it out through conferences. Beachhead is the business traveller, but there is a massive market out there. I mean, who here doesn't fit?
And how much do you charge per day? Like
We're taking a 4% fee.
4%.
Yeah. So on the average, for the service provider, it's $4
Plus the credit
for the
card
hotel.
charge.
Yes. So we're charging both sides. So the credit card charge is being paid by the person paying the tip, and we're taking our revenue from the person receiving the tip. I've spoken to a lot of hotels and a lot of people in the industry, and the word phenomenal is repeated constantly. These guys are desperate for something like this because they're missing out on tips and revenue.
So people who work at the hotels, restaurants, they're gonna just, everybody's gonna install this.
Absolutely.
So the challenge is then you gotta get the people who are paying the tips to install it. That's the Concur relationship.
That's right, and that's why I'm targeting Concur. I'm also speaking with Freedom, which is another big company that recently changed their name. They have 134,000 businesses on their books, and Expensify. So that's my beachhead, the business travel.
And you were saying Concur because they are the experts in expense reporting.
That's correct. Yes. So, as I
And I know
mentioned,
Concur.
yeah, the America's #1 travel expense company. They have 60% of the Fortune 500 companies on their books and 23,000 businesses. And all of those businesses are large businesses, 2,000 plus people.
You know, launch in the US? Is that where
Yeah, I'm from Australia, but I'm over here in the US.
You got it there.
G'day, mate.